This is the Cafe Racer Podcast, episode 143 for May 26, 2019. I'm Crash.
And I'm Steven.
All right, so this time we are joined by a bunch of our Patreon supporters. It's our monthly Patreon hangout. So we've got Wes, Tyler, Steve, and Alex. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
Good. Now we've got two Steves, which is going to get confusing. And then we've got a Steven and a Tyler, not to be confused with Steven Tyler, which would be a totally different situation.
That'd be fun.
Dig up some bandanas and hook them around our microphones. We'll be halfway there.
That's what
and then like suddenly,
this thing.
What's that?
I should tie scarves all down the boom here.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. The most eventful thing in my motorcycling life lately was Overland Expo.
You got no bandwidth. What's with your bandwidth?
Me?
You keep crapping out.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'll just change the video quality settings so that it's
I think it might be him.
Who, me?
Who, you? Your voice kind of cuts out every now and then.
Maybe it is me.
I don't know.
This is cutting out for me. Okay.
I turned my video quality down so it'll be prioritizing audio a little better.
You're still just as pretty.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Way to set the mood, Wes.
Oh man, I mean, you guys heard him before we recorded. The mood has firmly been set directly in the gutter. So I went to Overland Expo in Flagstaff last weekend, and it was a lot of fun. There was, there were a couple things I recorded videos or audio on, which you guys have gotten to see. And then the things that I didn't, there was two, I don't know how to describe them, because when I say electric scooters, I think most people think of like bird scooters, the little like kick scooters. These were like electric, Vespa style sit down, twist to throttle kind of scooters.
Like kind of motorbikes, but tiny ones.
Well, like the one was basically the same size as a Vespa.
Okay. Have you seen me? I consider that tiny.
That's a good point. It's not big, but yeah. So like a little Vespa sized device, and it had like a pedal electric motor or a bicycle. It had a motor in the hub, and it had one in each hub, so it was 2-wheel drive. It was pretty kind of fun. They go 30 miles an hour. They're made by Ubco. I'll pull up a picture while I'm running my mouth. So these things are, designed to be extremely utilitarian. They have like a ton of mounting points, and they have a front rack and a rear rack built into them, and then you can get like larger upgraded front racks or racks to basically, like, this thing is designed to be like an electric ATV replacement, kind of.
An urban assault vehicle.
I guess so. Let me share my screen with you guys.
Do you know if the batteries are hot swappable?
Yes, they are.
So it's got the kind of battery you pull it out and put it on the charger, and you've got can have another one that you just plug in and go.
Yep,
that seems to be the trend with a lot of the scooter makers that are going electric, is that hot swappable concept.
Yeah, it's just like a car battery sized lithium pack that's right in the like center of the frame, and you just yank it out.
Are any of these bikes have interchangeable batteries between manufacturers? Like, are they using a common battery platform or not?
So not that I know of. They all have their own kind of form factor. So here's the little, like, you guys can probably see my screen now.
Yes.
This is the Ubco 2x2. You know, with 4-wheel drive. If you look, it's kind of hard to see because of the little orange dots to kind of tell you about stuff, but it's got like a bicycle style front end with like a bicycle style front fork, and then it's got like a dual rear shock situation. The battery and drive unit are all here in the bottom of the little cradle on the frame, and it just pulls out like this handle here and this one that you can't really see in the picture are, that's the battery, and you just yank it out. They want $7,000 for this thing.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, it seems pretty high, but when you consider the fact that like they were marketing this thing at Overland Expo, where people are driving, $600,000 6-wheel drive vehicles, and I mean not everybody obviously, but there were several, and they have a deal right now where if you buy 2 of these, you get like a discount and you get a hitch carrier that will carry both of them. And I could see this for somebody that really does like serious off-road or overland travel, where you pull in, you set up camp, and then you've got this thing to run to and from like nearest civilization, or just scoot around and see a little bit more stuff that you couldn't have seen in your big ass truck.
Yeah, get a little farther through the jungle before you have to go on foot.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a spot where I can show you.
Charge it with? Is it 110?
Yeah, it comes with a 110 charger, and since if you're like the overland camping type, you probably have a solar panel situation, or
And that view there on the website makes it. Can you go back one, or is that automatically advancing?
Oh, this is just scrolling through pictures, so it'll come back around.
Yeah, that view with the dude in a sleeping bag, and you could see the top of the scooter.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot less like a bicycle.
Yeah.
That side view that you initially showed us, it basically like that. It kind of looks like an electric bike.
It does, yeah. When you see it from the top, you can see that it's got all these platforms, and then if you look, there's like 17 mounting points. They're those little tabs that stick down everywhere. I'll try.
And there, it's got a little saddlebag on the side of it and everything.
Yeah,
that looks a little more functional than just kind of the side view that looks like a big bicycle with no pedal.
Yeah.
What's the range on this thing?
Say that again. The range?
Yeah.
They said 75 miles.
That's not bad.
You're probably going pretty slow though, I would imagine.
It goes 30. It maxes out at 30.
Oh wow.
And it doesn't feel like it gets up there super fast, but yeah. So like they've got a decent a decent range of accessories already. They've got panniers. They've got cargo decks, that go on the front and the rear to make your cargo space even wider, so that you can throw your dead elk on it when you want to take it back to camp.
Or a case of beer.
Yeah. And they have camo fairings so that it blends in with the environment.
Naturally.
So this is
One of the guys from Nokomoto had one of these.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Got stolen out of the back of his truck.
That's shitty.
Geez.
It looks like a Super Cub and a Ruckus had a baby almost.
Yes, you're right. It does.
Yes.
With a Rokon for an uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, like, tubular frame and stuff that's all open.
Yeah.
So is this thing treated like a bicycle in the parks?
Say that one more time.
Is this treated as a bicycle in like parks, national parks and things like that?
I don't think so. It's plated. You can get it's in that 50cc and under scooter territory.
Okay.
But it doesn't have pedals, so I don't think you could get away with passing it off as bicycle.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what I would seriously consider is throwing like a pivot point on those foot pegs and making and putting some bicycle pedals on it. So like you're like, no, I'm pedaling. See, look at me go.
Just making extra work for yourself.
Just waggle your feet around.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was. They took us out. We got to ride down some like little dirt roads and just around the convention a little bit on it, and it was fun. There wasn't anything awe-inspiring about it. I do appreciate the utility of it. it's expensive for what I would, want, but I think it's kind of a cool thing, and I hope more stuff like this comes out and the price comes down. Because I
Yeah.
think something like this for like half this price, like 3,500, would be pretty killer. I would have considered it over my electric bicycle, if that were available.
What's the top speed on your electric bike?
28. Well, that's
Okay.
when it stops assisting, but I've gotten up to like 35 on it if I'm going downhill.
I keep thinking this is the same thing as your bike, but it's not a bicycle because
No, it's got turn signals, it's got headlight, taillight.
right. It's an
I would be in a
electric
tricky
bike.
spot with my commute on this thing because it doesn't go fast enough for me to be able to cross the bridge over to the island where I work. So, but it's not a bicycle, so I wouldn't really be allowed to take it on the ferry. I'd have to just kind of like convince them to let me bring it on.
Yeah. The
Which
pedals would help.
Yeah, and they probably would be like, look, it's just an electric little scooter thing, kind of like a bird, and or because like there's another electric scooter company called Wheels in San Diego that has one that has a seat on it, and I could be like, hey, it's just like one of those Wheels scooters with a seat. It's just electric, they'd probably let me bring it on, but it's not just like an automatic. Oh yeah, free commuter ferry time, hop on. One thing I do think is clever about this design, all those little all those little tabs where you can mount stuff to are, the back of them is shaped for a hex nut. So if you put the nut up in there, you don't have to actually like use two tools to mount something on. You just hold the nut in there with your finger and the tab on the frame grips it for you.
That's smart.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cleverly done.
Yeah, I look at those tabs and the first thing I think is sidecar.
Oh yeah, I mean this thing has so many mounting points. You could sidecar the crap out of it.
You put a sidecar on each side and take the family out.
Those are called outriggers.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about the more absurd thing that I rode.
Cake caulk.
The electric motorcycle bicycle podcast.
Not on purpose.
Shifted from cafe to adventure to electric bikes.
I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't either. But
Well, it's the new segment. It's the place in the motorcycle industry where technology is new and advancing at a really incredible rate.
yeah,
Where the move from ABS to lean sensitive ABS is not revolutionary. It's incremental. Of course we're going to have lean capable ABS eventually. This is really exciting. The battery technology. Hey, it's Super J.
hey.
The battery technology, getting everything compact and keeping it cool and reducing the price. I think it's really exciting. And I mean, I know they're getting a lot of flack about it, but seriously, as motorcycle riders, I want to ask you guys this. Are you not really excited just to see a live wire on the street? Because I sure am. I can't wait.
I think it's a great idea.
I am too. I like to talk trash about them a little bit because I think some of the things are silly. But I'm looking forward to them coming out and helping advance that part of the industry.
I want one. I'm just going to wait till they go below 30 grand or somebody.
The first used one in South Florida.
Yeah.
Right. So speaking of wildly overpriced electric vehicles, I rode this thing called a cake or what
Cake caulk.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce the other. It's a Swedish company, I think. So it probably comes in a flat pack with an Allen wrench, and that's how you put it all together. But this is a electric motorcycle / mountain bike. It doesn't have pedals, but we got to ride this thing on some single track trails, and it really feels like a mountain bike. It just has a motor in it instead of you pedaling it.
Yeah, that one looks way more like a bicycle than the other one did, though.
Yeah,
13 grand.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's crazy.
This thing is
you want the street legal one.
Yeah, so this one is $13,000. It'll go 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
The street legal one will do 65, I think. It doesn't have as much torque because if you look at the pictures of this thing, the rear sprocket on it is friggin'
Huge,
enormous. Yeah.
Huh.
Trials bike.
Yeah. So we got to go on some like mountain bike trails on this, and it was fun. And it definitely feels halfway between a mountain bike and an actual like off-road dirt bike. But I cannot for the life of me understand, unless you just had an ass load of money and all the other toys you already wanted, I can't figure out why you would buy this. I mean, I like things that serve a practical purpose, and this served none.
Yeah.
It was so fun though.
But yeah, it sure is pretty.
Yeah, it's very nice looking and Swedish and boxy, and
So when it's an electric bike,
And I think the specs page, it's only 100 pounds. And then you
Yeah.
add the battery.
yeah, it's about 150 pounds loaded up. So is the Ubco bike, by the way. They weigh
Okay.
about the same.
The Ubco only weighs 150 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's light for that big
Yeah.
of a frame.
Yeah. I one of my favorite things is if you look at the picture I've got up now, these little knobs that look like they came off of an amplifier
They sure do.
are for the ride mode and your regenerative braking modes. So like it's just the weirdest little like,
Go to
amplifier.
11.
No, they go to 3. 1, 2, and 3.
But I mean, look at that though. It looks like it's got a fully adjustable front suspension on it too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could easily drop the cost by just putting a standard, front fork on it.
Yeah, and I don't know about the ease of swapping the batteries on these. The charging point. Let me see if I can find a shot with it. The charging point is like up. I think it's built into the front of the frame.
the thing looks pretty cobbled up. Actually, is this a pro?
Yeah.
It looks like the Tom Cruise's bike in Oblivion.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny, 13 grand, but you can get a 0S for like 10.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like you can get a full-on 125 mile an hour electric motorcycle for cheaper than this.
Yeah, with a
And
200-mile
clearly, the
range.
front, if you look at this picture, that front fender is obviously not doing anything. This guy's back is completely
Oh,
covered
yeah.
in dirt.
That is awesome.
Or that rear fender, I mean, not the front fender.
We knew what you meant. He looks like he's having fun.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's ridiculous, and way too expensive, but it was fun. And we rode on some trails where we definitely weren't supposed to be. Like they took us out on a mountain bike trail where I'm pretty sure we were not technically allowed. But
Cop didn't see it. You didn't do it.
exactly.
It's only illegal if you get caught.
That's right.
So as far as charging the batteries, this is a picture. This little area right here where I'm circling, just behind the bottom of the triple clamp, is where you plug the battery in. They didn't talk about anything in terms of removing the batteries easily and then being able to swap them out quickly.
So that gives you the impression that they're not.
Yeah, they also the reps for the company didn't talk a lot at all. They were just like, "Hey, want to ride it? Let's do this." And we went and rewrote them. And then they would answer any questions, and I didn't really it didn't occur to me in that moment to say, "Hey, can I take the batteries out?" Because it looks like your charger's built into the frame or something.
Right.
I just get the feeling like all this new technology is being placed outside the hands of the normal person because of the cost.
Yeah, I think it's that way right now. All right,
A few years it'll be on Banggood, and we can buy something there knockoff.
Just wait till the Chinese pirate it. They get a hold of one and reverse engineer it, and it'll be $50 at Walmart.
Yeah,
right.
What I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Speaking of things that I question the metallurgical, abilities of their company, I rode the Himalaya, the Royal Enfield Himalaya.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
It was fun. We never actually went out on a public road. We stayed in the conference the whole time, which, I get that the bike is not terribly fast. It's a 400, so they don't want you to they want you to have the most fun experience for a demo ride you can. Which is better than I can say for Ducati. Ducati didn't seem like they gave a crap about how you felt about the demo ride. It was the most boring demo ride I've ever done.
Ducati was there?
Yeah, Ducati has their little scrambler bus that they're driving around the country, and so they have like all the different versions of the scrambler lined up, and you can demo those too. But so the Himalaya, we rode. We just stayed in the conference area and went out on this Forest Service road, and that was fun. The getting out on a road with it, and we weren't like it wasn't single track technical stuff. It was just a dirt road, but it was fun to kind of bounce around out there and feel that the tires had a hell of a lot more grip than the last time I took my Bonneville off road. So
I rode one on a racetrack. They're definitely not fast.
That's an interesting place to have a Himalaya. They had sorry, they had one Interceptor, the GT, the 650,
the new parallel twin.
Yeah, they had one, and I could have ridden it if I wanted to. The only reason I didn't is I'm going to the Royal Enfield event in San Diego in a couple weeks, and they're gonna have like 30 of them, and so I figured, I'll ride it then. It's no big deal.
Well, I think the really cool thing that's on the horizon, everybody keeps talking about it. I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but they'd be crazy not to, is to put that new twin in a Himalayan.
Mm-hmm.
Because the new twins are like $6,000, I think.
Yeah.
So you put it in a Himalayan, you give it the 10% ADV upcharge. You make them pay extra for hard cases, and you got a pretty capable adventure bike for under $7,000.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I think stands out so much about the Himalaya or Himalayan or whatever is it now is that it's only $4,500.
It's like crazy, isn't it?
It comes with pannier racks built on it in the front and the rear, and like if it holds up, mechanically, then that thing, go basically anywhere, and that you could ever want to take a motorcycle.
That 650 motor is really good too. It's power and torque is like exactly the same as my CB500X.
Nice.
So if they put it in the Himalayan, it would be a really good competitor for that middleweight.
Yeah, and I think even the single that's in the Himalayan makes it a great like bang around bike, and for people that live in cities or whatnot. If you don't want to have a scooter, if you don't want to buy a Vespa, get a Himalayan, because you got about the same amount of power, but you have this bike that looks pretty cool, and has all that storage space on it. You can lash whatever you want to it, and you got that kind of panache of having this bike that's made in India. I think it's really cool.
How was the vibrations on it, Chris? Because remember when I rode the Continental GT, it was really unrideable.
Yeah, I never got it up over maybe 40 miles an hour.
It's bad.
You say it's bad?
It's really bad. The 650 motor is much smoother though.
Alex, have you gotten to ride one?
Yeah, I went to their 650 Twins event at Summit Point Raceway, so I got to ride both 650s, the Continental GT and the Interceptor, and the Himalayan.
So did you think they vibrated a lot?
The Himalayan, yes, but it's a single. The 650s were smooth, a little bit less refined than the CB500X, but like as far as power, weight, and torque, it matches up with the Honda 500s exactly. And like they're definitely trying to compete with those. It's just a little less refined. It seems like it's geared a little bit higher, so it doesn't pull as hard as the 500, but they're nice bikes.
Okay. Thanks for I think you're the only person out of all of us that has gotten to ride them so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the way this thing looks, and I agree with Wes. If they put a 650 in it, it'd be killer.
Yeah, it felt nice and light and nimble. I couldn't help. I mean, I know I've heard so many horror stories about older 500s that I couldn't help wondering like how long it was going to be at the conference before one of the demo bikes was completely dead and
or on fire.
But I didn't hear anything, negative. And I was hanging out near their booth a lot because of where they were positioned in the conference area. So
did they have pretty girls at the booth?
No, it wasn't really that event.
Well, I was just trying to figure out why you were hanging out near their booth,
Yeah, well, Moscow Moto's booth was right across the little, street from them, and I did a couple recordings with Moscow Moto. I attempted more than one video recording. It's just that the first time we went to record it, my camera glitched out and didn't save the video.
Oh no.
I gotta tell you guys, when you're hanging around with Pete and Ashley, you don't want to leave. So
they are super fun.
Yeah.
And then the other guys, Andrew and Scott from Moscow, were also really fun. I was riding my little electric bicycle around the whole time, and one of the guys, Andrew, has a different company's electric bicycle. So he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I ride your bike?" So yeah, sure. So he goes out and rides it, and there's a mountain bike park there at the county park where the event was held. And so like he went over there and like took it on the track out there that they have and came back. He's like, "Yeah, this thing's pretty fun. Like it's more powerful than mine, blah, 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 And then I went out and took it over there later.
I want you to talk about their gear, man. Can we do that?
Yeah.
The clothing, because I don't know if you guys saw, they've come out with some, I wouldn't say like completely innovative, but a new way of looking at it. It's not really a new way. It's just more the dirt bike way.
Yeah. I think they're trying to serve a market that, hasn't really been served well up to this point. I mean, because you've got like the guys that are doing adventure tours where they're mostly on road and they're going a really long distance, and those guys are probably pretty well served by like a Climb or, similar style jacket. The stuff that Pete and Ashley are doing is basically dirt bike riding for several days in a row and camping. And their whole idea is, if I want to get good ventilation and take my jacket off, then I lose my armor. So I don't want to do that.
Right.
So they separate out all those pieces.
He took his jacket off and all he had on was a dirt bike shirt. And when he crashed, he chipped an elbow and got a really bad gash. Had he been wearing that armor, he would have been fine. He might have got a little bit of road rash, but that was it.
Yeah. So the armor situation with, Moscow is, you've got like basically a t-shirt on underneath to kind of keep your skin from getting irritated by the straps on the armor harness, and which is made by Force Field. It's one of their kind of like off the shelf armor pad setups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a little more, it sounds like I don't see anything on their website about it. It sounds like it might be a little more modular than the bone armor that, it's like the body sleeve with armor pads.
Yeah, I'll try to find it. So it's because Force Field has they have a shirt that's kind of like the bone armor that it's more like a compression style shirt with the pads built in.
Yeah.
It might be. I wonder. Well, yeah. So it's the Force Field EXK. Is the harness setup. So it's got a chest pad, like a 2-piece chest pad, big shoulder pads, big elbow pads, and I think it has a back pad built in too.
So there's a big, long running thread on ADV Rider in the vendor section that follows the development of this gear. Wes, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That was one of the first things that popped up on the Google search. Yeah, it does. It looks very dirt bikey, but yeah, it's it looks like one of the things that keeps me from really looking hard at the bone stuff is that I'm a big fat guy, right? So I don't want a shirt that makes me feel all clammy and sweaty. But this looks like a vesty kind of harness that kind of clips around all the fat places. If you're like me, probably looks really good on a little skinny guy like you guys. But Yeah, this looks really cool.
Yeah. So and then it's CE level 2, which is like basically the highest you're gonna find in in like armor situation. And so that would be on top of like a thin base, like short sleeve base layer, and
Yeah.
then or long sleeve, whatever the weather is going to be like. But they actually have a base layer that Moscow makes that is specifically kind of sized to help cover some of the areas of your skin where those straps go around. Like the sleeves are a little longer than a regular short sleeve shirt. That way they covered like that second shoulder strap, attachment point or whatever. So yeah, that would be t-shirt, then that harness, the armor harness, and then they've just released a set of jerseys, like dirt bike style jerseys that don't have a million graphics on them. I think they just say Moscow on the front, and then that way, if you're riding along, you can have because it's not like we need a lot of abrasion resistance if you fall down in some sand. You're not going to skin up a whole bunch of stuff. You're just going to impact and kind of hurt your pride a little bit. And then they've got the basically we spent the most money on every possible component jacket. Like the every bit of the Basilisk jacket and the pants is the most premium thing they could find to put on it, pretty much. The zippers are like the highest end waterproof zipper you can get, so they didn't have to use storm flaps over the zippers that make them hard to open and close. And then the super fabric, like the on the top, like the abrasion parts of the jacket, most jackets only use a little bit of it. They used it, across the whole shoulders and arms of the jacket. And then this event stuff, I don't, I didn't get a chance to well, I did have a chance. I just forgot to take a video of their little demonstration thing they had for the event. I had never heard of event until I talked to Pete, and apparently we went on I don't remember if we did it on the audio recording, but we kind of got into the weeds about the difference between Gore-Tex and event when he and I were talking. And the demonstration area that they had, he actually had like a kind of like a mason jar with a blood pressure cuff pump attached to it. And you know how mason jars have that ring for the lid? He had screwed down a swatch of event and then a swatch of Gore-Tex. And if you pour water on top of it and then pump the little blood pressure cuff, you could see that on the Gore-Tex one, air was not visibly coming out. There weren't like bubbles or anything. But on the event one, when you squeezed the pump, you would see all these bubbles come up through the fabric and escape. And then you wouldn't see water dripping back down onto the other side of the swatch.
Interesting. So who makes Event? Is this a U.S. company? What is this?
I do not know. I'm going to look.
And then let's talk like a full set of gear. What are we looking at? Competitive with Climb or much more than Climb?
I don't know. I did not get pricing.
Okay. You might not even have it out yet, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the pricing yet.
Because it's not on the website.
Right.
The gear's not out yet. I mean,
yeah, they're supposed to be available for sale like by the end of the month or like beginning of June.
Interesting.
Based on like other outdoor stuff that uses Event over Gore-Tex, like climbing stuff and camping stuff like that, it's going to be like 20 to 30% more than
really
Gore-Tex stuff. Yeah.
Where have you seen it in clothing, Alex, or more like in tents and stuff like that? I mean,
I've seen it in rain jackets and pants and stuff like that.
Is it VENT? How's it spelled?
Yeah, it's just like the word event.
Okay.
Yeah. They're based out of Missouri, Lee's Summit, Missouri.
Event Fabrics. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically I don't remember if we talked about this on the recording with Pete or not, but basically when Gore-Tex, so the membrane that lets air out, doesn't let water in, blah blah blah. That membrane is like susceptible to your skin oils damaging it. And I guess one of the biggest differences is Gore-Tex puts a like protective plastic layer over all of the membrane, and Event does it before the membrane is formed, kind of. So it like basically before it's woven together, so that instead of doing it after the fact and kind of closing up those pores and making it a lot less permeable, they do it on the individual fibers of the membrane, so that when it's all woven together, those pores are still intact, and that's what allows the air to flow out and in. I mean, like Pete was saying that a lot of guys that switch to using Event garments end up using having to wear more insulating layers because there's more air transfer going on than they're used to.
Interesting. I'm really surprised on that demo. I would have thought that the Gore-Tex would have actually shown vapor coming through.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And he was telling me like that there's actually this really technical thing when they say that a garment is breathable. The common public thinks, okay, air moving in and out. But breathable means apparently something completely different from that involves moisture vapor transfer rate.
Oh boy.
Yeah, sounds like nerdy science stuff.
Yeah, he and I got a little bit into it, and he's like, dude, he's like, it goes so much deeper than this, but basically, the industry uses the word breathable in a different way from the public, and the public they've kind of it seems a little bit like they've been selling the public on this term that is not really applicable to what the public is thinking it's applicable to.
That's what I always thought it meant, honestly. When I mean, I knew it didn't like have wind going through it, but when they talked about vapor, I thought, it was off letting air out through the fabric.
Right. So it's basically you take the way they test this is it's the numbers are like the height in millimeters of a column of water that has to be standing on the jacket or on the fabric in order to allow a single like water molecule through.
Mm-hmm.
And so 20,000 millimeters is Gore-Tex standard. So you need a 20,000 millimeter high or 2 kilometer, right? If my math is right. Column of water on the outside before a liquid water molecule will pass through. Supposedly, it's the same amount of pressure required on the other side to allow water vapor to get out. But it ends up being that it does allow water vapor out before it allows wet water in. I don't know. But the Event, the word breathability actually applies in the way that regular everyday people think of it.
20 meters, Google says.
Okay. All right.
Which is still a lot.
20 meters, not 20 kilometers, which was 20,000 meters. So yeah, that makes sense. 20 meters.
It just shows you how bad I am at math. I can't even do division by 10 in my head.
Well, apparently I'm not so good at it either.
What were they, Chris, what were they offering for like pants? Is it the same thing when you're wearing the armor separate?
Yeah, so the pants situation is exactly the same. The pants, the Basilisk pants don't have armor built into them anywhere. And basically you just use the force field limb tubes or whatever whatever knee armor you want to wear, or hip armor, etc. The venting on the pants. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was looking at Force Field's website, just seeing, they have a multitude of different types of armor as far as to fit your body,
Yeah.
Whether it's like a tube, like you said, or just regular pads, or like a whole chest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the nice things about all that is, one, it comes off. It doesn't come off if you take your jacket off, so that's cool. I mean, obviously, you're probably going to leave your pants on while riding, I assume, but maybe I shouldn't assume. So if you want to ride with no pants, you can still have armor on your legs. But you get a lot more coverage with force field than you do with most, like, just D3O padded jackets if you buy a jacket.
I mean, it's not much different than if you were to go to like Moose Racing and buy their stuff that's not padded or has any armor in it, and they make lightweight gear, right? And then use the force field stuff as well.
Yeah, I will say the Basilisk jacket, I tried one on because they had like basically one in each size there.
Right.
The jacket felt really stiff, but I'm sure it would loosen up over time. Like all my adventure gear that I've ever worn felt super stiff at first, and then loosened up.
Oh my God, you should try brand new Arrow Stitch like Darien right out of the box.
Yeah,
Just
no
stands
kidding.
up on its own.
It's like wearing plywood. I mean, I'm interested to see how this stuff looks and how it performs because I'm such a gear whore, and the idea of something that's inherently waterproof is always my favorite way to go. Instead of wearing a waterproof layer or carrying something around that you got to either stick in your jacket or over your jacket to make it waterproof. So
yeah,
the idea of this event fabric, especially now that you're telling me that you're actually seeing air pass through it, the idea of that in Florida would be even more appealing,
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought a long time about even for us, for like cafe garments, about wearing force field gear where somebody goes and finds a really cool bomber jacket, that's got no armor in it. So we've always advocated wearing something under there.
Yeah, I've got a pair of force field knee pads that I wear sometimes when I just want to wear regular pants.
Right. I mean, those guys are innovators
too. Is they sell the armor and the jacket separate.
Who's that?
Knox out of
Knox,
England.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see where it goes because I know, Pete and Andrew engineer some really cool stuff. And I noticed looking at their site, they've got 2 more tank bags out now too. So
yeah.
Did you get a chance to see those while you were there?
I saw them, but I didn't realize they were new at the time, so we didn't talk about them. They were very prominently displaying their new jacket and pants.
Right.
I like the colors on the jacket. They've got a jacket that is light gray and super fabric, which is kind of a dark gray, and then the zipper is that cyan blue that they use on all their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got another version, which is the one I took the pictures of, that is green with like a bright yellow zipper. I think the colors look really good. They're more like outdoor apparel, in terms of their visual cues than they are Power Ranger sponsorship motocross look,
What else was interesting there that you saw besides hanging out at Moscow Moto the whole time?
I did hang out with them a lot. The Venn diagram of environmentalist hippies and concealed carrying hardcore conservative preppers is one of my favorite things about Overland Expo. You hear a lot of words like everyday carry, and then you also, like, within 3 or 4 seconds, you hear somebody talking about like composting and something like very environmental. So like carbon footprint and all of these sorts of things. And it's a very interesting event for that sort of, to watch those two groups of people kind of like, oh, this is the thing they have in common. I took a seminar. I don't know if that's the right word. I took a little class from Simon. What is this? Yeah, Simon Thomas. Yeah, from To Ride the World. It just kind of happened into it. I was looking for him and Lisa because I wanted to get Lisa to sign the Dirty Dining cookbook because I bought one while I was there. And I looked up the schedule and found out that they were supposed to be doing a little seminar thing on basically stretching, like how to kind of manage the aches and pains that occur when you're traveling on the road for a long time. And it was just about like stretching and like different kind of movements you can do on the bike, off the bike, etc.
Yeah.
And I saw Simon right before it started, and he talked me into staying, basically by telling me that I had to. Um, and then we went and found Lisa. But it was a decent little thing. I mean, it was basically, he talked about some stretches you can do to kind of like it's clear that because he has a medical background, by the way. His I don't remember exactly what his day job used to be, but he was in the medical field, and so like he was able to apply some of that knowledge in a way that is relevant to somebody who's either sitting in a car all day or sitting on a motorcycle all day, and kind of say, okay, these are some things you can do in the morning or before, if you're on a motorcycle, before you get to like a hard part of your trip, to kind of warm up and loosen up your shoulders and your neck and your upper back and your lower back, which are mostly like, and your hips, like kind of the places where you're most likely going to have aches and pains. That was fun just because Simon's fun.
They did that same class at Overland Expo East.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to take because I was taking something on publishing. But did you do the cooking class that they had?
I didn't know. She was doing a cooking demonstration on Sunday, and I ended up leaving Saturday night. It turns out my parents are about 2 hours from Flagstaff, and so I'd been sleeping in the back of my Toyota Highlander and not showering or anything, and I was just like, you know what, I could just. I'm basically done with all of my coverage of the show for this weekend. I could just drive to my parents' house and sleep in a real bed and get a real shower and use real Wi-Fi. Although the Wi-Fi there was actually really good in the media room. They had a media hub kind of thing, and the Wi-Fi speeds were surprisingly good. But still, I was like, I could go do all this post-processing work in a house instead of in my car.
Yeah.
So I left on Saturday night, kind of in the evening, and drove to my parents' house, which is actually where I'm recording now because I'm out here again this weekend.
Who did the off-road training? Do you remember for the motorcycle?
I don't remember. It wasn't Rawhide. Rawhide had
Rawhide.
Yeah, they had Rawhide had like no presence at the show this year. I'm not yeah.
You probably know the guy's name that they did at East. I want to say like Bill Dragoo or something like that.
Yep, that's a guy.
Yeah. I think his company did the classes on the East one.
Okay. It might have been them.
Yeah. They moved it this year for East. It's in Virginia.
Yeah, I'm actually considering trying to attend.
Dude, you absolutely should. Come on out.
Are you going to be there, Wes?
Yeah, I'm absolutely planning to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only like 2.5 hours from where I live.
Yeah. Cause it's like if I went, it's like I'd be back. Because I'm from Virginia, so I'd probably make it a longer trip and visit a few people as well. I haven't been back to Virginia in 8 years, so strongly considering it.
Well, come on out, man. You can stay with me if you need to.
All right.
When is it?
October, right?
Yeah.
And they sold. Do the Hansons not own the show anymore?
That's correct. A company called Lodestone Events purchased Overland Expo just before the show this year.
Okay.
I heard a little bit of mumblings. Ted Simon actually was kind of not rumor mongering, just sort of speculating about what the show might turn into now that it's been purchased by a bigger company.
What was his speculation? I'm just curious.
Oh, he was just wondering like if it was gonna, because it's kind of, especially, I mean, the last time I went was 5 years ago. It was way smaller 5 years ago. This year it felt absolutely enormous. And he was wondering if it was going to shift, because there was there was a noticeable contingent of like 4-wheel drive bros.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing. I guess that's like the easiest thing to conjure an image in your mind, like guys that have, lifted trucks that aren't really traveling so much on them.
Mutters.
What? Oh yeah, mutters.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff. There was a good contingent of that kind of crowd, and Ted was like, I wonder if it's going to become more of a show for them or stay a show for us. In his doddering old British accent. One thing that is also Pete and Ashley related, but not Moscow Moto related. My favorite seminar that I took was theirs. They did a little class on flying to a location in another country, buying a shitty motorcycle, and riding it there, then selling it and going home. It seems like, from talking to them and watching their little presentation, one, I want to have them on the show to talk about that with like no time limit, because they ran out of time and clearly had more to say. But it seems way less daunting than it sounds when I first heard it. I was like, I don't, I don't have the money for that. I couldn't do that. That's it. Like in a lot of circumstances, it's way cheaper than renting a bike. And one of the advantages, one of the advantages, like say you go to Vietnam, where the dollar is worth, or their currency is worth like 0.0004 of ours. They bought motorcycles for $500 each in Vietnam, rode around Vietnam for a few weeks, and then sold them for $175 each at the end. And they've had situations where they've made a lot more money on the back end than that, or they've recouped a lot more money on the back end. He said one of the things is, you basically, if you're going to do this, you have to be either commit to having extra days to try to sell the bike, or commit to taking whatever the first offer is. Just know you're going to, like, whatever the first halfway reasonable offer is, cool, it's yours, I'm out. But they only paid $325 basically each, after the sale, to rent these bikes for like 2 weeks or something, which is way cheaper than if you were going to buy these bikes. If you're going to rent a bike for that much, for like buy it per day, you'd probably end up spending more than twice that.
I mean, that's the whole reason they came out with the Reckless system, was just to have something to carry and just throw it on the back of the bike and you're good to go. You don't got to mount anything,
Yeah, and that's why, like, he and I talked about that afterwards, actually, the Reckless system. That's what he takes when he does this travel, is he empties that out, folds it as flat as he can, and puts it in a duffel bag, and then flies in, buys a cheap Chinese bike, and throws it on. One of his other techniques is, so it's really popular, and I noticed this when I was there. It's really popular over in Asia to have a bike that's got some vague sport bike styling. So it has like a fairing on it, and that sort of thing. But underneath, it's just a 125 or a 250, like a XT 250, a Yamaha XT 250. Imagine if you took that little dirt bike and turned it into put sport bike fairings on it so that it looks kind of sporty. What he does is he takes all that stuff off and then leaves it with a friend, or leaves it at the dealership where he bought the bike or something. He finds someone who will store it for him, rides the bike all around the country, and then when he gets back, he puts it all back on. So those plastics have been unmolested for the whole journey. And one of the biggest advantages he talked about is, you're riding the bike that everybody in the country rides. So parts are everywhere. He said even in Ethiopia, they were finding, like, if they needed something, it's like every mud hut that has some guy with a wrench has parts for your motorcycle. And then he's like, because most of these bikes, a lot of the bikes are, they're all coming out of like 2 or 3 Chinese factories and then just getting rebadged with like 6 different brands on them.
Yep.
And so a lot of the parts are interchangeable, which is really helpful if you have, a need for anything. If you're driving around Ethiopia on a BMW 1150 GS, then you might have the only one for 500 miles. Or more. So riding around on their bikes gives you a lot more access to parts. It also makes you a lot more approachable because you're not driving this friggin' spaceship. Which kind of makes like everybody like, whoa, who is this friggin' like rock star that just showed up? When you show up on, a little 250, just like everybody else is riding, they're like, oh, hey, cool. What's up, dude? Like, you're riding, I'm riding, you feel like more personable, I guess.
I guess you got to find that happy medium though between the comfort issue, right?
I don't think
me and
Pete takes that into yeah.
On 250s for 500 miles ain't gonna happen. It's just, I don't know. No, I don't think he cares. Like,
yeah, I don't think Pete cares that much either. I mean, fun fact about Pete: he goes to Burning Man, so comfort is obviously not high up on his list of important things.
The king at Burning Man.
Yeah,
pictures where he's in a big like throne and stuff. That's like,
yeah,
times his height. It's really funny.
Yeah, but also when you say going 500 miles, you're probably thinking about going 500 miles at your normal pace. Pete's talking about going 500 miles over like 3 or 4 days.
Right. Right.
Sense.
I mean, I would more want to stop and photograph and meet people.
You're spending a lot less time in the saddle.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I want to go really bad. And I had a long conversation with Pete about that. And at first I like poo-pooed the idea.
You say Vietnam?
But the more you talk about it, no, about renting buying a bike.
Yeah.
Pete's way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, the logistics of getting my bike there, forget that. Then trying to rent something. So the idea makes a lot more sense. It really does. Even if you, for 3 weeks, you gave it away for $500. You know what I mean?
He's done that. Like they've given it to like a non-governmental organization to use as like, transportation or to sell to, like an aid company, like an aid organization kind of thing.
How does that work? Like I maybe talked about it in this presentation, but like registering it or anything like that, or they just buy it, just go see to their pants and say, yeah, we'll be gone before they notice.
It's Vietnam.
It's a little bit of both. So he said basically you kind of have to get comfortable with the idea that it's going to feel a little shady. And every country's different, obviously. Or maybe not obviously, but yeah. So every country's different. But he said in a lot of the countries were actually buying a brand new motorcycle from a dealer, they literally paid a runner to like handle all the registering and everything. So the bikes were completely legit, registered as theirs. But then some places won't. Some countries won't allow foreigners to own motorcycles and cars and that sort of thing. It's just not. They're not allowed to. It's not legal. So what ends up happening is the bike will be registered to a local, and then documents will be written out to say, these people are, taking custody of my bike, my motorcycle, and they're allowed to use them. And he said that sometimes he has written that document himself and forged that person's signature himself and maybe made up a person who really owns the bike, but there's some sketchiness, some inherent kind of sketchiness involved. But he said for the most part, you just kind of have to be willing to wing it. And he doesn't do a lot of research about where he's going to go or what he's going to ride before he gets to a country. He said usually in the cab ride from the airport to their hotel in the first town, he just looks and sees what everybody's riding and tries to see what he sees the most of. And then he looks for things like that.
That sounds a lot like Pete.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's super fun.
That makes me uncomfortable just hearing about it.
Yeah, it makes me excited hearing about it. So, I'm actually thinking about trying to arrange a time to be in person with them again and record a whole thing about flying in and buying a bike and that sort of thing, so that you guys can hear his craziness straight from his mouth.
Yeah, it's funny because like you would think that Ashley would be the bad influence on Pete, but it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times she's the voice of reason. to his insanity.
Right. I mean, and she has the look of the like edgy. Yeah, she's got like the half like side of her head is shaved, her hair, the rest of her hair is
She's making
super
it pink, kind of, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. She has kind of a pink vibe.
Yeah.
Apparently, I meant to give Pete a hard time about this before, but apparently they have a bathroom in their house that is 100% gnome decorations, like garden gnomes and stuff. It started out as like somebody gave them randomly like a book about like a fictional book, but it's like written as if it were a real book about the biology and life cycle of gnomes. And they took a couple pages out of it and framed them and put them in the bathroom. And then ever since, it's just grown more and more and more. And he said that Ashley was telling me that people will come over to their house and they'll go to the bathroom and they come out like, so that was creepy. What's with all the gnomes? There was even a guy, I didn't know this beforehand. There's a guy walking by their booth, and he's like a shorter guy, kind of round, in like a Carhartt jacket with a red beanie on that's kind of like peaked up at the top because it wasn't pulled down all the way, and he had a big beard. And I was like, hey, it's like the Overland gnome. And then Ashley was like, oh my god, you're right, also let me tell you about our bathroom. And so she like went and told me about it. I was like, holy crap, that's funny.
Yeah, when they're very hospitable too. You sit down with an interviewer and Pete's offering you a beer, and then pretty soon like the bottle of Fireball comes out, you know.
Yeah, I forgot that you guys somebody
So
like handed him a bottle of Fireball, and you were like, all right, cool.
no, that would be great to have him on the show, because that's really a topic we should kind of delve into. I think that it's something that would make travel more accessible for people, because the first thing you think about is trying to get a bike someplace or trying to rent a bike. And, those of us who have these big adventure bikes spend a lot of time farkling it out,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of crap on it. And this is like the opposite thing. So it doesn't become about the bike anymore. It becomes about the people and the landscape and where you're at. And the
Yeah.
bike just becomes what it's meant to be, is like a little bit of transportation.
Yeah, I was asking. I said to Pete afterwards, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really awesome. I don't know if I have anybody that would want to go with me." And he's like, "Dude, just go alone." And which is so it's funny because it's so the exact opposite of what everybody else. If you like, if you watch or talk to anybody about traveling in a foreign country or whatever, they're always like, go with other people. And Pete's like, "Dude, just go by yourself. It'll be so much better."
This is a guy that broke his leg while traveling, and that's how the whole, Moscow Moto got their logo and everything. You listen, it might have been Andrew that broke one of them, did that, but I'd go with you in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah, he was just saying like his rationale for going alone, just to kind of, at least give the man the time, like at least, give his message in addition to his nuttiness. His rationale for going alone is that when you're traveling with another person or a group of people, you don't feel any need to interact with the locals because you have your little sort of safety blanket of people that speak your language and meet your social needs. And also you're more intimidating to the locals because you're this group of space cadets with these, crazy machines that you've drifted in on. Whereas when you're by yourself and you're wearing, just whatever clothes you have, and you've got your local bike, and you come in all dusty and you look just like everybody else except taller, and maybe paler, then you're a lot more approachable. And since you don't have you don't have somebody to kind of hide behind, or like, herd mentality, you can't do that with anybody. You have to reach out to other people and engage with them.
Yeah.
I can see both sides.
Yeah. I think I'm more comfortable doing photography when I'm alone than when I'm with a group, honestly, because you stand out more as a group. And when you're doing street photography, you want to try to blend in with people and just not be noticed. I think let's definitely try to get them on, because I didn't know that they were teaching that class, and that would have been something I would have sat in on for sure.
I didn't know they were either. I recorded the video that didn't work with Pete, and then we were going to do it again real quick, and Ashley was like, "Hey, we got a seminar we have to do in like an hour, but we need to run over it. We need to go over the presentation first. So can we do this later?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What seminar are you doing?" And then she told me. I was like, "I'm coming to that." So we just all kind of went together.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's basically all the Overland Expo talk that I can think of at the
There's
moment.
one more thing we got to talk about.
What is that?
You texted me before you went looking for a recipe.
You're right.
And how did it come out?
I didn't make anything.
You're a loser.
There were so many food trucks,
Loser.
and I didn't end up cooking any of my own food there.
You're such a loser.
Yeah, well, I didn't remember they were catering. The media room had catered lunch 2 days, or the 2 days I was there. So, I didn't have to. I could just go get free food for lunch, and then I didn't feel as bad, paying for something later.
Just roughing it.
I know.
Yeah, real tough. Have you guys been looking at Jed's little icon? What the hell is he doing down there? He keeps wiping his face. Got his mic shut off.
I'm working, man. I'm at work. I'm listening.
You're like panicked. I see you like going, oh man, and like
Yeah.
Well, earlier we had Steve's cat going, look at my asshole, look at it, see it, stare into it.
Jed, you look like you got a little sunburn on your face, though.
Yeah, so I worked all day yesterday. I was pointed, well, more like asked, and I'm going to be leading all the demo rides for Triumph Vermont and CycleWise. And I did that all day yesterday. It was freaking awesome. It was awesome.
Drank the Triumph Kool-Aid, didn't you?
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, I had to ride brand new motorcycles all day long, so it was awesome.
It was a lot pretty great.
So yeah, I did that yesterday, and they also CycleWise is a pretty cool dealer. So they do Ducati, Triumph now, and they do Zero, and so we have got a bunch of cool bikes that were on demo, and yeah, basically I was leading everyone talking about the bikes. I had a couple. I'm not a big Ducati fan. Like that's not a secret, and they know that. But so they're like, oh, there's the one guy was like looking at a Hyper Moto. I'm like, you should just check out the Tiger 800. I think that's a better bike, So like, let's put the plate on the Tiger 800. Let's get you signed up for that one. I tried getting all of them on the Triumphs. So, but the one bike that was always booked. So we had 10 motorcycles, and the ones that was always booked was the Zero SRF, which is a goddamn lightning bolt. That thing is fast, and it sounds like a blender from hell. And the Speed Twin was always booked. I was surprised the Street Triple wasn't, so I stole it for the last half of the day. And then the Scrambler, the new Triumph Scrambler, was booked every time. So
very cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So they were impressed. I was working hard for them, moving bikes around, getting folks signed up, sending people into the showroom, going, "Oh, you like that? The Speed Twin?" And well, I like the 900. Well, why don't you go talk to our sales rep in the showroom? And I was sending people into the showroom, and I don't know. I think there were a couple bikes leaving that day, so I felt good. I felt really good, like doing something I love, sharing my passion, seeing the passion in their eyes, and then facilitating their dream. So yeah. Or facilitating the zeros in their bank accounts. I don't know, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and so I'm going to be doing all the leading on and coordinating on the demos for Triumph in Vermont moving forward, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
I mean, I don't get paid, but I don't give a shit. I love it.
Can imagine the Jed's demo rides are like, all right, keep up, and he's just gone.
No, yeah, well, yeah, I had to. Yeah.
If he dies, he dies.
No, we actually had one wipeout. Someone on a Zero S wiped out. We were going around a left turn, and I'm keeping my eyes out, and I watched him low slide. He hit some gravel, went around the left, rear tire kicked out, and he just low slided the bike.
Oh man!
I don't know. I rode the Zero. I rode the Zero S. I didn't ride the SRF yesterday, but I was riding with one of the sales guys, and he was like flying. But anyways, they're weird, and they got so much torque. And the guy that was riding it was from a smaller bike, so he wasn't used to the torque, and the power just got away from him. There's no traction control, I don't think, on the standard Zero, so that's why he went down. But he's okay, and the bike was okay. Bike was a little scuffed up, but those things are freaking like bulletproof. Like, we picked it up, and there was just a couple scratches. I'm like, he was freaking out. I'm like, dude, if you're on a Ducati, you would have totaled the freaking thing, so don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah, there's so few moving parts and so few things sticking out that are like precious, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it just, you got that huge battery and the motor, and the motor is a part of the swing arm, and it's really well built. They really designed the dang thing pretty well. So, but yeah, he went down, unfortunately. Then it only going to cost us a bar end weight and a grip and a kickstand. So, bike's fine, still true and everything.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I did. And then I had to work. I'm at work now, and I had to go work till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm back here at 6 in the morning. Yikes. Commencement. So,
does your job get easier now that everyone's graduated or graduating?
I have a reunion. So next week I'm off. I'm off tomorrow, thank God. And then I'm off a couple days. And then I've got services for my grandfather this week coming up, so I'm pretty busy. But after that reunion, I'm on for another 7 days, and then I'm going to Tennessee.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm once I get to this summer, it's super slow. So, which is good because I'd like to ride.
Yeah. You put serious miles on motorcycles.
Yeah. Yep, a lot. So, yeah, I just did a 30,000 mile service on the T120. So, I'll probably.
And you've had it for how long?
A year.
Man, that's going.
And it was in the shop for part of that, waiting for a new transmission.
It was in the shop for a month, and then it was in storage for 4 months.
Ugh.
Yeah, in Florida, he could easily put 50,000 a year on a bike, I bet, if he didn't have the winter months.
Yeah,
I would be a Scott Auld for sure.
Yeah.
I would not have a car. I wouldn't own a car if I didn't. Need one.
The sides of your tires would look pristine if you lived in Florida too.
Yeah. Love the chicken strips on them.
Dark side triumph.
Yeah, you'd be riding on 2-car tires.
Scott's a hardcore rider. You know, he did that commute every day on a 250 for years, and not even his commute. He'd go on like 5-hour rides on that.
Yeah.
You know.
You remember the first time I met you, Steve, down at AIM Expo in Orlando? I think it was 2016. Does that sound right?
With me, probably, yeah.
Yeah, Scott rode his 250 from Southern Florida to Orlando and back.
Yeah.
In the same day, hung out at AIM Expo and then went home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't think about like the size of the state of Florida, like the length of America's dong.
It's way bigger than you think. I remember I went to Southern Florida, not far from where Scott lives, to visit a friend of mine. I took the family down over Thanksgiving, and we were so excited when we got to Florida. We're like, hey, Florida, we're almost there. And like 8 hours later, we finally got there. And all the joy had sapped away. We were like so tired of driving at that point. We even did it in 2 days, you know, so that we didn't have to really rush, because we left at night after work, you know. And then we came all the way home in 1 day, and I was like, yeah, that was inappropriate.
Never again.
So Orlando to home in 1 day is not so bad, or Jacksonville to home in 1 day is not so bad. But from, you know, an hour north of Miami all the way back to Northern Virginia was just a miserable drive.
Well, listen, from Jacksonville to Key West is 8 hours, and that's with no traffic.
Oh man!
Once you get into the Keys, you can add an hour to that, so you're looking at 9 hours to get.
Just because of traffic?
The Keys traffic's horrible, and it's only 2 lanes going into the Keys. That's it.
That's pretty similar to the length of California. Like it's not that different. Like from here to Sacramento, or from my here is Mesa, Arizona right now, but my house to like Sacramento is about that same amount of time.
Yeah. The Keys are people, they see Miami and they think, well, this is it. This is the southern tip. No, you got all that overseas highway down into Key West. And man, like I said, all it takes is one accident or one knucklehead like stop in the middle of the road. And yeah.
Well, when we went down the first time to Daytona, that's when I realized how big Florida was. When I went down to see you guys in Fort Lauderdale, and then Doug and I went out to Key West, I was like, "Oh, that was great experience. I'm never doing that again. Never."
It's like riding the haul road to Alaska, but with hot sun. It's just brutal.
Yeah.
The great part of it, there's nothing to see. And it's just
ocean.
Driving from like South Florida to Jacksonville too is also the worst possible experience you could have. Either the turnpike or 95 going up it's horrific. That's why I like the idea of the auto train so much, just going to Sanford and putting the bike on a train, and then getting out of the South.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. You can put a bike on the auto train.
Huh. It only goes, it's from Lorton, Virginia to Sanford, Florida. That's it. That's what it does. It's one route.
And Lorton is maybe 15, 20 miles south of DC.
Yeah.
So
how far is that from you, Wes? How far is Lorton from you?
Lorton is about an hour and a half north of me.
How far is it to the place where they're doing the Overland Expo?
About 2.5 hours. It's that's out by Lynchburg, which is kind of on the western spine of Virginia, in the I-81 corridor,
where the hills are
near Ish to Roanoke. Yeah, where the hills are.
Yeah,
they picked a great location for it, man. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, you know what comes with hills in Virginia? Hillbillies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's out near the Blue Ridge Parkway and Shenandoah National Park's not far from there. The Shenandoah Parkway. There's a lot of great riding out there. I don't mean to be a cheerleader for Virginia tourism for motorcycles, but if you ride a motorcycle and you never come to Virginia, you're really missing out.
There are a lot of great roads.
Yeah, and right next door is West Virginia, which I think has the highest, per square mile ratio of great motorcycling roads of any state in the country.
West Virginia is almost if you took like an alpine town and just like smushed it down so it wasn't quite as high elevation. And it's just these little like mountain and hill towns everywhere, and the roads are like a plate of spaghetti.
Yeah, and because it doesn't have a high population density, but they still get their share of federal road money, so they just put the money into the road. So they have all these fantastically surfaced roads all over the state. It's really awesome.
Yeah, they're not like getting tore up like by plows like up here.
Exactly.
They last longer.
The best part of riding out there is when you think you're like flying and really pushing it around a corner, you get passed on a double yellow like mid corner by like a Geo Metro.
Yeah,
that's just mobbing. Great.
Yeah, and they're so pissed at you for going slow, they like flick cigarettes at you when they're going by.
Right, you're doing like 20 over and getting passed. It's crazy.
And this Geo Metro has a Confederate flag in the back, regardless of West Virginia's position during the war.
Yeah. But yeah, Overland Expo East is in Virginia this year, and it should be pretty fantastic. I encourage everybody to come. Y'all are welcome to camp out in my backyard. I only got one spare room, so one person can come in, and I might let you use the shower.
I think they've had some challenges with the Biltmore. Getting the Biltmore is a pain in the ass, and the traffic around there is really bad. So I can just imagine that they were looking for a better venue.
I didn't realize they had it at the Biltmore. I mean, I knew it was in Asheville area, but I didn't realize they were doing it on the Biltmore grounds.
Yeah, twice they did. The first time was at a place called Taylor Ranch. That when they had a really bad rainstorm in the mud, they had, literally like vehicles sliding from the mud. And then they did the Biltmore. Everyone was really excited about it, but like I said, I think there was just a lot of challenges getting in and out of the place. How far you had to follow like the Biltmore's one-way road all the way around the joint to get in there.
Lovely facility though.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, I never got the chance. Well, I never took the time to go there when I was living out on the East Coast.
It's kind of expensive to just go visit as a tourist destination. It's a little expensive.
Yeah,
$60 a person to get in.
Yeah,
yeah, stupid.
Fun to go once though.
I've wanted to go to the Greenbrier in West Virginia, and see that whole little area, especially because there's that old bunker there. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
So there's a resort in like right outside of Lewisburg, West Virginia, and because it's West Virginia, there's a crap ton of amazing roads to ride around it. And this resort used to have well, it's still there. Not like they got rid of it, but there was a secret bunker in the resort that was for like the president and like members of Congress or something like that in the event of sort of like a nuclear emergency. Because it's close-ish to DC, so they'd be able to hopefully get people there. And it's just this like bunker built into the side of the mountain that's also on the grounds of this extremely opulent mountain resort.
Yeah, I've read about that in various newspapers and magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Not fake news.
Yeah, and as long as they get there before the first EMP bursts hit, they might survive.
Yeah,
because otherwise that helicopter is going right into the ground, and the first responders can meet him at the scene of the crash.
Yeah, they'll probably beat him by a good hour at that point.
Yeah,
it was just turned into the Archivist podcast now.
A little bit.
We can.
I got to bow out, man. I got a work thing that's just creeping up my butt. But you guys have fun.
All right. Does anybody else have any fun motorcycle related things to talk about?
I'm going to pick up my FTR on Tuesday.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. So happy to hear that. Finally, it's been produced.
Yeah. I got the insurance and the half of the finance. Well, I'm paying cash for half and financing half, and so I got the insurance and the financing squared away yesterday. It's a little weird to come home with a check that has 5 numbers in it. That just kind of freaks you out because you look at that and you go, if this was cash, I could leave and nobody would find me for months. I could go off grid with this much money. And but yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've been looking forward to I put my deposit down before Indian even opened up the orders, because I got a good relationship with the dealer, and I'm like, listen, we all know it's coming, so just take this $500 and write my name. I don't care if you put it on a magnet on the fridge, says Wes equals FTR 1200. And they raised the price a little bit. They raised the price about $1,000 between the announcement and the delivery. I'm not going to cry about it too much. I've never owned a brand new motorcycle before. I've never owned an American-made motorcycle. Never owned a first-year model of anything. So there's a lot of firsts for me, and I'm kind of treating it. I turned 50 this summer, so that's my 50th birthday present to myself. Is a really inappropriate motorcycle for a 50-year-old.
Sort of your midlife crisis bike.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I was looking at the specs, and not that people. Okay, so I memorize some of the specs of various motorcycles that I own or desire greatly, and I'm going down the list. I'm like, this sounds a lot like my GS. I got a 2005 GS, and so I pulled up a spec sheet for the GS, and the specs are almost the same. Obviously the Indian's got more horsepower and stuff like that, but the weight. The FTR is actually heavier, dry and wet, than the GS was new. The wheelbase is almost exactly the same. The GS is 59 point something, and the FTR is 60. The seat height is the same, 33 inches. There's just it's kind of like a GS without all the GS from a size perspective. So I already have a pretty good idea that I'm going to be comfortable on it. I know I'll have to do something about the foot pegs right away, because I got a bashed up left leg from getting in a crash about 20 years ago. and my foot doesn't point straight anymore, so I can't use like really narrow stock pegs. So I've already been in touch with some folks that make aftermarket pegs for adventure bikes, and they're like, you know what, if you send us one of the pegs, we'll find a set that fits and send it back to you. So, you know, we got something, we'll figure it out. And so that's exciting, and they're excited to, you know, put the FTR on their list of bikes that their parts fit. So it's just really exciting.
Rally pegs that go with that too.
Yeah, one of my problems is that in addition to not pointing straight, my foot also doesn't. If I keep my foot flat in that plane for a long time, my leg will start to cramp up because the crash broke my leg in a bunch of places and tore up my ankle and all that. So I need those pegs that can rotate just a little bit and for maximum comfort. So. Yeah. But yeah, I saw the rally pegs, and they're relatively inexpensive. They look like a good deal, and they look well made. I think they'll probably sell a couple of sets of those over time.
So as FTRs, are they coming out? I think it was a motorcycle show. They had all them different variations of them. Are those all dropping at the same time, or are those down the road further?
Yeah, so the base model, the S model, and the race replica all came out at the same time. All the same different color schemes. They've been talking about doing an adventure bike and a Street Fighter version based off the same engine, but those are, you know, like 2020, 2021 kind of things. So we're just the standard FTR and the upscale one that has all the technology built into it. Those are all out now.
That's exciting. I'm really, really, really happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm definitely psyched about it.
Are you taking it to 10, Tennessee?
I undecided, but probably not, because I want to get it through the break-in service before I take it anywhere. And I got to because I'm working the rally, I got to bring a ton of shit with me. So I couldn't even strap everything. I got to bring a PA system. So I can't strap that on my GS.
Not with that attitude.
No. Yeah, that's right. What's that?
Take the K with the sidecar?
I'm not sure everything would fit in the side. I'm probably just going to throw everything in the truck, to tell you the truth. And then I don't want to have to be, you know, busting a bike in and out of the back of a pickup truck, that kind of stuff. And frankly, I'm going to be working. So when I'm not doing work for the MOA, I'm going to have to doing work for my regular job, because I'm missing my regular job. So usually when I go to the rally, I don't get a ton of time to ride, which is unfortunate, but you know.
Oh, when you go to the MOA, have you heard of the motorcycle relief project?
Yeah, absolutely. I had Tom on my show. He was my third show, I think.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I interviewed one of their guys the other day, and they were talking about how they're going out at the MOA. I was like, oh, I have a friend who's out there. You should hit him up. So
yeah, it's a fantastic organization, and actually it's a really great time to bring them up, because they had a crash that was related to some wind that caught their trailer basically and just jerked it all around on the highway, and they lost half of their bikes in this crash. Oh. The trailer's totaled, 6 of their bikes are totaled. They lost a bunch of gear and other stuff, so they're really hurting right now. They had to cancel their next session in June, and it's looking like they may have to cancel their session in July too. So this is a great time for any of y'all that donate to worthy causes to donate to a worthy cause. You know, give them $20 or whatever. It's going to help them out, because the bikes are apparently totaled, so they don't know when they're going to get their insurance payment, and they don't know how they're going to replace the bikes and stuff like that. So it's a tough break for them, and they're a great organization. I don't give money away very often. Yeah. And but I give money to them every year because I believe in their work.
Yeah, it seemed like a really good program when I talked to them, like both on air and off air.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic people working there, and you know, just talking. I'm not a veteran, so there's a lot about it about being a veteran, especially a combat veteran, that I will never understand. But I never felt, talking to the guys that have been through the program and the guys that work with MRP, I never felt less than talking to them. You know, I never felt that they looked down on me because I wasn't a veteran or that I had never been in the military or anything like that. And, you know, being able to have a really engaged conversation with those guys is really an amazing experience. So I'm a little envious that you got to talk to one of them.
Yeah, they had 3 or 4 guys that had all been on trips there at Overland Expo. So
yeah, I think they may even have been going home from Overland when they had their crash. The timing, I think, fits because they just posted it's just a saddening photo on Facebook.
Yeah.
The wreck trailer and their papers strewn everywhere is rough. But yeah, that's all I got going on in my world is the FTR coming in. I haven't been able to concentrate on anything else.
Just kind of buzzing over there, just like
exactly.
Well, run commencement's just finishing up. I got to go up to the top of the hill and help the seniors and help with food. So I'll see you guys later.
You enjoy that, man. It's good to see you.
Later,
I think we should probably start wrapping this thing up anyway. Steve had to rush off for a work emergency as well, so
yeah, something's on fire.
Yeah, well, I think they're having a radio, like a comms issue, actually. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure something's on fire. Like his, so one of his, not the, I don't think it's the district he works for now, but the district he used to work for did like the most calls in a year of any county in Florida or something like that. And I don't remember what the number was, but it was something like 6,000 calls a year or something just from this one fire station. Like it was completely ridiculous.
That is crazy.
The number I could be completely off on the number, but it was a very high number. Like when he told me, I was like, how's that possible? Like that's one fire station manned 24 hours a day. How does it have that many calls in a year? There are only 365 days. That's like 6 to 10 calls a day. What the hell? Anyway, thanks you guys for coming to the hangout. It was great. You know, kind of getting your feedback and to talk about the FTR and, you know, Jed's thing. And Alex, thanks for chiming in about the Indians that, you know, none of us have gotten to ride yet. So, and again, just thank you guys for supporting. Like you guys really help make the show possible. Like as a great example, like the support you guys and all the other patrons give helped subsidize part of my trip to Overland Expo. Which made it a lot more accessible for me, which allows me to do interviews and meet people and that sort of stuff, and then push out more content for you guys. So if anybody is listening to the sound of my voice and wants to know how you support us, that's patreon.com/Cafe Racer Podcast. But if before you give us $1, I would please go to the Motorcycle Relief Project and give them a few of your hard-earned dollars first. They are extremely worthy cause, just like Wes said. They work with veterans. They do sort of these motorcycle based group therapy week-long events. And if you want to hear more about it, listen, a couple episodes ago I recorded an interview with someone from the organization, so you can hear about how it all works. motorelief.org is the website. They could use every dollar we can help them out with to help get their fleet back up. Wes, where can people find your interesting work?
You can find out a lot about the motorcycle industry by going to chasingthehorizon.us. And I just put out my 50th episode a couple weeks ago, and the 51st will be out tomorrow, featuring a dude that snagged a world land speed record on a Honda CB350.
All right.
Whoa.
Pretty cool.
Cool. What about you, Tyler or Alex? Anywhere people can find you, or if you prefer to remain in the shadows, that's okay.
I'll go first. I guess Tenere Treks is my Instagram. Every now and then I post some pictures on there, but it's still haven't had the time to ride it, even though we had a nice 6-7 months of winter and even had snow up here last week, but hopefully soon.
Yeah.
I am on Instagram at Maryland Moto and marylandmoto.com for my blog and videos.
Awesome. I got your stickers, by the way. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Well, without further ado, again, you can find us in all the usual places: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, online. Just look for Cafe Racer Podcast wherever you are, and we're probably there. being creepy and weird, watching you eat your French fries with mayonnaise, and ketchup, you European weirdo. I do that, but whatever. You can email us at feedback@Cafe Racer Podcast. We'd love to hear anything you have to say if you have any thoughts or comments or questions. Thanks for all the iTunes reviews and all the support on Patreon. Again, without any other bullshit from me, get out and ride.